We're going to talk about area of quadrilaterals and composite figures. Area is the number of square units that a shape encloses. So you would multiply the sides together like laying tile on a carpet. Okay, so here, if you notice, there's six squares down, 5 squares across. You just multiply them together. 6 times 5 is 30. And if you were to count the squares, you would count that there are 30 of them. Area is measured in length of units squared. So remember, with perimeter, we just said units. So for example, for perimeter, we said feet, miles, inches, etc. Well, with area, we say squared. We say feet squared, miles squared, inches squared, etc. So for some examples here, if we're given this rectangle right here, we know that this length is 65 and this one is 19. So we're going to take 65 and we're going to multiply it times 19. And that's going to give us 1,235. So we would say that the area equals 1,235 millimeters squared. Okay, for this one, it's 3.1 times 2.5. And that's going to give us 7.75. So the area of this one is 7.75 centimeters squared. Now, if we're given a fraction like this, right, a mixed number, okay, then we just want to turn it into a fraction, okay? So remember, turn this into a fraction, multiply the top times the bottom. 3 times 5 is 15. Then you add the number on top. So 15 plus 1 is 16. And then you leave the denominator the same. So this would be 16 over 5. And we're going to multiply it times, okay, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So this is 11 over 4, okay? So now we're just going to take 16 times 11. That's going to give us 176. 5 times 4 is 20. So we're going to take 176. We're going to divide it by 20, and that gives us 8.8. So the area for this one is 8.8 inches squared. Okay, same thing for this one. Turn them into mixed numbers. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17 over 3. We're going to multiply it times 1 times 7 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So we have 9 over 7. Okay, so now we're going to take 17 times 9. That's going to give us 153. Okay, we take 7 times 3, which is 21. Okay, now if we take 153 divided by 21, we get 7.2857142.9, and it continues on. So we don't want to, in our area, we want to give an exact number. So actually what we're going to have to do is leave this in fraction form. Okay, so now we want to try to reduce it. Okay, so the first thing we want to try to do is see what we can divide this by. All right, so 21, think about the numbers we can divide by 21. We can divide 3. Okay, so let's try dividing 153 divided by 3. And that actually works. 153 divided by 3 is 51. So this, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay, so we have 51 over 7. And then if we want to turn it into a mixed number, okay, think about how many times 7 can go into 51, okay? 7 times 7 is 49, okay? So we know we can't, 7 times 8 is 56, so 7 is the most that it can go in. Okay, 7 times 7 is 49, okay? And then you take 51 and you minus that from 49, and that leaves you with 2. So this is actually 7 2/7. Okay, so the area here is 7 2/7 feet squared. Now, when we have a composite figure, all right, what we want to do is divide it up into smaller quadrilaterals, find the area of each smaller figure, and then add all of those areas up together. Okay, so I've already, in all the figures that we've done, I've already gone ahead and divided them off, okay, but whenever you're dividing your figures off, what you want to look for is ones that are easy to do. Okay, so like here we went ahead and put this, we divided this one off because this first one, see, we already have given this side and this side. So we know that 3.5 times 1, right, is just 1. 3.5 times 1 is just 3.5. So the area for this one, okay, this big figure right here is 3.5, okay? Now, if we look over here, we divided this one off into this giant one, okay? So we know that this whole side right here, okay, up and down, we know that that is 3.5, okay? And then if we look up here to find this area right here, we know that this is 2.1, okay? We know that this is 1 right here, so if we take 2.1 and we subtract 1 from it, that gives us 1.1 for this area, okay? So now we can take 3.5 and multiply it times 1.1, and that's actually going to give us 3.85 for this little one right here, okay? For this box, right, we're already given these numbers, 1.4 and 1, okay? 1.4 times 1 is 1.4, all right? And now with this box right here, okay, we know that this length is 2.8, so now all we have to do is find this side right here, okay? We know that this area is 2.1. We know this whole one is equal to 3.5. So to find this one, we're just going to take 3.5 and we're going to subtract 2.1 from it. And that's going to give us 1.4 for this length. So now we're going to take 2.8 and we're going to multiply it times 1.4. And that's going to give us 3.92. So now that we have all 4 of our sections, we're going to add those numbers up. 1.4 plus 3.85 plus 3.92 plus 3.5, okay? 1.4 plus 3.85 plus 1.4 plus 3.85 plus 3.92 plus 3.5 is going to equal 12.67. So the area of this whole figure is 12.67 miles squared. Okay, and again for this one, all right, I've already, if you see, I've already divided this figure up for you, okay? Again, when you're dividing up the figures, okay, because before when these lines weren't here, right, I could have gone this way with it. I could have drawn a line right here, but the reason that I didn't, the reason that I put this line is because if you look, I'm given this long length and this length right here. So this one is easy to find, first of all, right? I just take 74 times 9.3. Okay, so that gives me 688.2. Okay, the next thing, right, my next choice was either to do this line right here or this line right here. Okay, I chose to do this line right here because for this box right here, I already know this length is 37 and this one is 9.3. So I can take 37 times 9.3 and that gives me 344.1. Okay, and then if I look at this box down here, right, I already know that this is 37 and this is 18.6, so I can find that one, 37 times 18.6, which is 688.2. Okay, actually the same one, same area as this one up here, right? This one's just fatter, this one's longer and thinner, okay? So now really, this little one is the only one that I actually have to do a little extra math to find the lengths, okay? This whole length right here is 27.9, okay? Well, I know that this length right here is 9.3, so if I take 27.9 and subtract it from 9.3, then I know that this little area right here, or this little segment, is 18.6, okay? And then to find this little segment right here, okay, I know that this this whole segment right here okay, is 74. All right, and I know that this little segment right here is 64.8. So if I take 74 minus 64.8, that gives me 9.2. So I know that this is 9.2. So now I'm going to take 18.6 times 19.2, and that gives me 357.12. Okay, so now I'm just going to take all my areas and add them up. 688.2, we have two of those, right? So we're just going to multiply that by 2. Okay, then we're going to add 344.1 and then 357.12. Okay, so 688.2 times 2 is 1,376.4 plus 344.1 so 1,376.4 plus 344.1 plus 357.12 equals 2,077.62. So the area of this whole figure is 2,077.62 meters squared. Okay, for this last one, all right, it looks, before I had put the lines, it looks a little complicated, but if you notice what I did was I just sectioned off this big rectangle right here, and then all that leaves me with are these 4 little ones around it, okay? And if you look right here for this one, okay, I know that this is 4.2 and this is 0.7. So I can find that one out just by multiplying those. 4.2 times 0.7 is 2.94. Oops. Okay. If I look on this one, I know this is 1.4 and this is 0.7. So I can take 1.4 times 0.7, and that's going to give me 0.98. Okay. If I look at this shape down here, I have 2.8 and 1.4. I have 2.8 times 1.4, and that's 3.92. Here, I know this is 1.4, okay? If I look directly across, right, to these, they're the same length, so I know that this is 0.7. So I can take 1.4 times 0.7, which I already did on that one, right? So this one is actually 0.98. So now all I'm left with is this big square right here, okay? So to find this big long length, okay, look, I know this is 1.4, this is 2.8, and this is 1.4. So I just need to add those together, right? 1.4 plus 2.8 plus 1.4. And so I know this whole length right here is 5.6, okay? And now to do this side, okay, I know this is 0.7, I know this is 0.7, and I know that this is 0.7. So if I take 0.7 and add it up, right, 0.7 times 3, okay, I know that this whole length right there is 2.1. So now if I take 2.1 and I multiply it by 5.6, I get that this whole big figure is 11.76. So now I'm just going to add them up, right? I have 0.98, and I had that on the other side, right? So I'm just going to multiply that by 2. Then I have 3.92, and then I have 2.94, and then I have 11.6. Okay, so I take 2 times 0.98, and that gives me 1.96. Then if I add 3.92 and 2.94 and 11.76, that's going to give me 20.58. So the area of this big unit is 20.58 centimeters squared. And that is the end of finding area.